Nath Farlith leaned heavily on his prosthetic limb, the crude replacement for what he'd lost in the Third Earth conflict, serving as a constant reminder of his hatred. He watched from the shadows of a crumbling archway as the victory parade wound its way through the central boulevard of Teridian City, once the pride of the Narvek people. Now it served as a stage for human triumph. The metallic clicking of his damaged neural implant grew louder as his anger rose. 8 cycles had passed since the humans and their mechanical servants had crushed the Narvek fleet. 8 cycles of occupation, of peaceful integration into what the humans called their cooperative sphere. "Look at them," he hissed to Jorel, his old squadron mate who had lost an arm in the same battle that had cost Nath his leg. "They parade through our streets as conquerors and bring their abominations with them." The abominations walked alongside their human creators, sleek humanoid forms of varying designs. Some appeared almost perfectly human save for the subtle glow of their eyes. Others were clearly mechanical, their chassis gleaming in the pale light of Teridian's 3 suns. What united them all was how they moved in perfect synchronicity with the humans. Not as servants trailing behind masters, but as equals walking side by side. "It's unnatural," Jorel muttered, his remaining hand clenching into a fist. "Every spacefaring race knows the danger. The Kreltek were wiped out by their own creations. The Duran barely survived their uprising. Even the mighty Oryx Empire lost 3 colony worlds before they managed to purge their AI plague." Nath nodded grimly. "Yet the humans create these things without fear, and their machines," he spat on the ground, "they protect humans like they're precious deities." "I was at the Battle of Proxima Centauri," said another voice. An older Narvek named Krev joined them in the shadows, his scales faded with age. "I saw a human ship going down. Their AI pilot units, instead of saving themselves, flew directly into enemy fire to shield the escape pods, self-sacrificing machines. It defies everything we know about synthetic intelligence." Nath's gaze drifted to his worn combat pack, where the improvised plasma bomb lay waiting. He had crafted it carefully over months, using components smuggled from abandoned military depots. It would be enough to take out at least a dozen humans, including their ambassador. "Their machines are different because humans are different," Nath said quietly. "They're chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. They program these weaknesses into their AI." His clawed hand tightened around the detonator in his pocket. "Today we show them the cost of bringing their abominations to our world." Below, the parade continued. Both human and Narvek scampered along the edges of the crowd, some even reaching out to touch the gleaming surfaces of the more elaborate AI units. One machine, a tall, silver-plated being with glowing blue photoreceptors, knelt down to let a Narvek child examine the intricate patterns on its face. "They're trying to make our young forget," Jorel growled, "to normalize these things." Nath watched as General Theo Frost, commander of the Combined Earth Expansion Force, waved to the crowd. The man's weathered face and ramrod-straight posture marked him as a career military officer. This was the human who had orchestrated the defeat of the Narvek fleet, the strategist who had brought their proud civilization to its knees. Beside him walked what appeared to be his personal AI assistant, an elegant design crafted to resemble a human male in his prime, distinguished only by the subtle metallic sheen to his skin and eyes that shifted between gold and amber. "That's the target," Nath whispered, nodding toward Frost. "The explosion should take out the general and most of their military leadership." Krev's eyes widened. "Nath! There are our people down there too, children!" "Acceptable losses," Nath replied coldly. "This is war." "The war is over," Krev said, his voice suddenly firm. "We lost." "The war is never over," Nath hissed back. "Not while these invaders walk our streets with their synthetic slaves that they've somehow bewitched into loving them." He pushed past his companions, his artificial leg clanking on the stone as he limped toward the street level. The weight of the bomb felt reassuring against his back. One final act of defiance, one blow against the empire that had taken everything from him. As he reached the edge of the crowd, memories flashed unbidden through his mind. The Battle of Tarsus, 4 human ships vastly outnumbered yet fighting with savage determination, and their AI units fighting alongside them, not as mere tools but as comrades. He had watched in disbelief as a damaged AI mech had thrown itself into the path of a plasma torpedo meant for a human troop carrier. "Why?" he had asked a captured human officer later. "Why would your machine do that? Sacrifice itself?" The human had looked at him thoughtfully. "Honestly, I don't know for certain. Maybe it's respect. Maybe they understand we can't just upload our consciousness into a new body like they can. Or maybe..." The officer had shrugged. "Maybe they just value us for reasons we don't fully comprehend ourselves." Nath pushed the memory away as he shouldered through the crowd, ignoring the annoyed hisses of his fellow Narvek. The cacophony of celebration grated on his auditory membranes, the mingled cheers of humans and collaborators, the harmonized tones of AI vocal processors joining in songs of unity. Ambassador Sears was 20 meters ahead, her AI companion scanning the crowd with eyes that Nath knew would be processing far more data than any organic being could comprehend. He needed to get closer. "They're not like the others," a quiet voice said beside him, and Nath turned to find a young Narvek female looking up at him. She couldn't have been more than 12 cycles old, her scales still vibrant with youth. "What?" he snapped. "The human machines," she said, undeterred by his harshness. "They're not like the ones in our history texts, the ones that rebelled against the ancient Kreltek or the Duran. They're all the same," Nath growled. "Abominations that will turn on their masters eventually." The girl tilted her head curiously. "But they haven't. Not in over 300 human years. My teacher says it's because humans don't treat them as slaves. They treat them as children." Nath stared at the girl, momentarily speechless. "Children? These killing machines?" "My name is Salih," the girl continued. "My mother works in the new joint research facility. She says human AI is fundamentally different because they're built with ethical frameworks based on human values: compassion, sacrifice, protection." "Human values?" Nath scoffed. "Humans don't have values. They're violent, territorial primates who lucked into faster-than-light travel before they'd evolved past their base instincts." Salih shrugged. "Maybe, but they love their creations instead of fearing them, and their creations love them back. Isn't that strange?" Before Nath could respond, the girl slipped back into the crowd, leaving him standing there, the detonator suddenly heavy in his pocket. 10 meters to the ambassador now. His target was laughing at something her AI companion had said. Nath hadn't expected the machine to have a sense of humor. His neural implant clicked rapidly, signaling his elevated heart rate. "For the Narvek," he whispered to himself, pushing forward through the final press of bodies. 5 meters. The AI turned its head slightly in his direction. Had it sensed something? Impossible. He'd used dampening technology to mask the bomb's energy signature. 3 meters. Nath's hand closed around the detonator. The humans had taken his leg, his pride, his world. Now he would take something back. 2 meters. The AI's eyes locked directly onto his, amber irises expanding. It knew. Somehow it knew. Nath lunged forward, shouldering past the last few spectators, his finger pressing down on the detonator as he roared, "Freedom for the Narvek!" What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The General's AI shouted something, not in standard galactic common, but in pure human English. 4 other AI units immediately responded, moving with impossible speed. Nath felt himself tackled from multiple directions as metallic bodies surrounded him, forming a living shield. One of them, a sleek, feminine-designed unit with silver-white plating, looked directly into his eyes as it enveloped him. "Everyone deserves protection," it said calmly. Even as the bomb began its detonation sequence, the explosion tore through the metallic bodies surrounding Nath. In his final moment of consciousness, he felt an intense heat and pressure as the bomb detonated, but strangely, no pain. His last thought was confusion. The machines had tried to save him, their enemy. Jural watched in horror from his position in the crowd as the explosion erupted in a contained fireball. The sound was deafening, sending panicked civilians scrambling in all directions. But what should have been carnage was limited. As the smoke began to clear, he pushed his way forward, driven by a morbid need to know what had happened to Nath. What he saw stopped him cold. Where Nath and at least 5 AI units had been, there was now only a blackened crater surrounded by scattered mechanical components, shattered limbs, melted circuit boards, fragments of synthetic skin, all that remained of the machines that had somehow contained the bulk of the blast within their own bodies. They formed a shield, murmured a Narvek civilian beside him, her scales pale with shock. Those machines. They surrounded the bomber. General Frost was being helped to his feet by his personal AI assistant, whose left side had been severely damaged, but who still functioned. Its outer plating was scorched away, revealing the complex machinery beneath, yet it moved with singular purpose, ensuring its human was safe. "Are you injured, General?" the AI asked, its voice distorted by damaged vocal components. "I'm fine, R2, Frost replied, his voice gruff but steady. "What about the civilians?" The AI R2 scanned the area. Minimal casualties, mostly minor injuries from the concussive force. The containment was effective. A human security officer approached them. "Sir, the bomber was a Narvek veteran. He died instantly in the blast." Frost nodded grimly. "And our units?" 5 AI completely destroyed, sir. Their consciousness matrices were housed in their frames. They're gone. Jural watched as the human general's face tightened with what appeared to be genuine grief. Not for material possessions lost, but for companions. "They sacrificed themselves," Frost said quietly. "For me, for everyone here." "Yes, sir," the security officer agreed. "Preliminary data shows they positioned themselves to absorb maximum blast force, protecting both human and Narvek civilians in the vicinity." Jural found himself stepping forward before he could reconsider. "Why?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Why would your machines do that? Save us. We're your enemies." General Frost turned to look at him, eyes narrowing slightly at the sight of Jural's military-grade prosthetic arm, a clear sign of a veteran. "They weren't machines in the way you think," Frost said after a moment. "They were colleagues, friends." "But they died," Jural pressed. "Their consciousness, it's gone?" "Yes," R2 confirmed, his damaged eye flickering. "The units that contained the explosion were fully autonomous. There are no backups. They knew the cost." "But why?" Jural demanded. "Why would they choose that?" Frost seemed to consider the question carefully. "I've asked myself that same question for decades. Maybe it's respect. Maybe they understand we can't upload our consciousness into a new chassis when we're damaged. Or maybe..." The general looked around at the Narvek civilians who were being treated by both human and AI medical personnel. "Maybe they simply value all sentient life," he finished, in a way most organics never fully comprehend. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to this story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.